rescue team is dispatched to help you to shore. Unfortunately, they are a little pricey, so it may cost you an arm or a leg for their services. But welcome aboard the world-famous glass bottom boats. We have been doing the glass bottom boat ride since 1878. This particular vessel you're on, the G.T. Immaculate, was built in 1965. That is ordinary glass you are looking through, although it is a half-inch thick. The only thing I've done to it, besides clean it, is I put a wet, soapy solution on it, because with the heat and humidity today, and the cold water underneath it, it would fog up and you wouldn't see anything. And all our boats are named after Seminole chiefs. Now, Silver Springs here was the premier destination in Florida for a lot of years. It predated the Mouse. In fact, it was the first tourist destination in Florida. Back then, it was privately owned, and over the years fell into disrepair. So much so that in 2013, the state was able to acquire the park. When the state acquired the park, they got a hold of over 4,800 acres. A lot of that is wet. 120 plus springs, 30 of them we named. Collectively, they will produce over 850 million gallons of water a day at peak flow. All the water that comes out of the ground is at 72 degrees year-round and 99% pure. Now, one industry continuing to thrive here in the park and has for years is the filming industry. The first movie that was made here was in 1916. It was a black and white silent movie called The Seven Swans. Since then, over 250 movies, TV shows, and documentaries have been made here, and are continuing to be made here to this day. Now, the first spring we go to, we name Spring of the Stars, to honor the stars that have worked here. Stars like James Dean did Rebel Without a Cause here. Jackie Gleason, Burt Reynolds, Jerry Lewis, Tom Cruise have all done projects here in the park. And let us not forget the Olympic gold medal swimmer, Johnny Weissmuller, who did the first 6 Tarzan movies right here at Silver Springs. Now, as we're coming into this first spring, what we're looking for is a flat, gray, rectangular rock. We'll have on 3 sides of white sand, the 4th side's a hill with some of this marine growth on it. I'll let you know when it's coming under the boat, so you don't have to enhance it. So it's a flat gray rock. And it's coming under the boat now. That rock is surrounded on 3 sides by white sand. A big stick by the 4th side is that hill. The slip right above the rock is where the water comes out of. Everybody starting to see it? This rock is in 26 feet of water. The movie people tell us it's a really good depth to film at because it gives you the illusion of deep water without being in deep water. Now, the next spring I'd like to show you folks was an actual movie set. In 1954, there was a horror movie that was made here. It was called The Creature from the Black Lagoon. A local man named Rico Browning became the creature. Rico got the job basically for 2 reasons. First, he could hold his breath for over 4 minutes. And second, probably just as important, is he fit the costume. So what we're looking for right now is a V-shaped rock, V as in Victor, amongst this white sand coming up. Today it's the spring, but 1954 it was the creature's den, his lair.
Turtle. I know.
that's coming under the boat right now. Rico would darn his costume, swim down there 31 feet, back himself up into that spring, wait there for the director to give him a sign of action. Do whatever the script called to do, the whole time holding his breath. Then in 1955 and again in 56, they made 2 more creature movies here. Return of the Creature from the Black Lagoon and The Creature Walks Among Us. Now out of curiosity, how many on board has seen The Creature from the Black Lagoon? A couple. Okay. For the rest of you, if you would like to see the movie, when you leave the park, make a left-hand turn. Go down the road a half a mile or so, and on the left-hand side will be a big blue and white building. You can't miss it. It's called Walmart. They usually have copies of the movie. Now the next spring I'd like to show you folks is a vertical spring, which means it's straight up and down. These last 2 are horizontal springs, which means they come out down by the bottom. A few years ago, a couple research divers asked permission to dive this spring. When the state rented it and they were diving, it got a little snug. So they took off their scuba tanks and pushed it down ahead of themselves. Well, they wiggled and squirmed their way down 81 feet. That's 8 stories. But when they got there, they found a crevice with water coming up out of the rock. And they were too big to fit into it. But they did bring a rope with them that was 200 foot long and had a lead weight on it. They lowered it down through the crevice and down and down. That lead weight never touched the bottom. So we really don't know how deep this is. We know it's at least 281 feet. But we could be 282, we don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the abyss. Now, you guys should be getting a pretty good look straight down the abyss. And I'm not saying that this hole is deep or anything. But last week, one of the other captains doing his tour saw something floating in the lagoon over here. He went over there thinking it was garbage, either from the kayakers or the power motors that come up here. And when he got over there and he plucked it out of the water, it looked like a sign. But the really weird part is, it was written in Chinese. Maybe we do know how deep this is. Everybody getting a good look down the abyss? Now we're going to head out of here like a herd of turtles. And we're going to go over to that island right there. That is Bird Island. My first trip today, there was a visitor at Bird Island, and we'll see if she is still there. And offhand, I don't see her. Now, if you look in this little swampy stuff right at that goes here on the side, those little yellow things, yellow stripes, that's a baby gator right there. Let me back up a little bit.
Oh, look at the little ducks.
Folks, you can stand up if you like. That's cool. Okay, this little first outcropping of the tall, big leaves plants, look, between us and it, you'll see it looks like a stick, but it has yellow stripes on it. A dark yellow stripe. That is a baby gator. Everybody seeing it?
Yeah.
Guys on the left, you want me to swing the boat around? Maybe you get a better view?
That'd be great.
Oh,
There he goes.
No, it looks like a little blockage.
Now those big tall leaves, the first set, between us and it, you'll see a stick in the water with yellow stripes on it. That is the baby gator. Mommy's around here somewhere. She was here earlier this morning. We used to call Mommy Albert a couple months ago. Last month we had to start calling her Alberta. She had at least 6 that we know of. And where she is right now, I don't know, but she'll be back. She doesn't wander too far from them.
What do you do with the gators when they grow bigger?
They stay with you. Yep. Nature takes care of herself. Now, a lot of people think, oh, the gators bother the kayakers. That's false. The only time that gator would have bothered a kayaker here is if they went too close in, and Mommy doesn't like that. She defends the babies. The other time that gators or people get stupid and get bit is when they start feeding a gator. Trust me, gators don't need help. So please don't feed a gator, because then they lose their natural fear of you. By nature, gators are afraid of humans. We are too big. They don't know they have the upper hand. So please, whatever you do, don't feed a gator, and don't go by them.
One more gator question. Why are they so small here? Just in general, in this part of Florida, you don't see big gators. You see little 4 or 5.
What do you call big? We have 12 and 14 footers here.
Yeah, like you go in South Carolina, you see the 12, 14 footers get out on the golf courses. Here, you don't really see them too much.
That I don't know. We do have 12 and 14 footers here in the park. Alberta is 11.
Oh, wow.
So, if it's on golf courses, chances are the place is having them replaced, move out, give them a habitat somewhere else. Now, if you look up in the trees of Bird Island, you're going to see these nests with these blackbirds in it. A lot of them are ahingas, some are cormorants. Ahinga is a fishing bird with a really cool nickname. It is named Snake Bird. The reason it's named that is when they are fishing, they're going through the water and their head and neck are above the water, and it looks like a snake. Ahingas you'll see on the shoreline up and down the shore here, usually standing on something with their wings spread apart. The reason they do this is they don't have natural oils in their feathers like ducks do. So they got to get on something after they fish in the sun and breeze to dry out. Well, being fishermen, we're starting to think a little differently. The other reason they may be doing it is we all know fishermen love to tell stories. And the story they may be telling, in fact, there's Alberta coming out of the weeds right now. See Alberta?
Oh, yeah. Moving around right in there, yeah.
I think that's Alberta. That might not be Alberta.
That was
Alberta's
smaller.
about 11 foot, and I can't really tell with the weeds. Well, the easiest way to tell is from the tip to the middle of their eyes, and whatever that is in inches, that correlates to feet. And it's a guess, nobody
Look
goes
at all
over
the
there.
turtles there too.
Everybody seen the gator?
Yeah.
And we also see a turtle island.
And there's a gator ahead of us too.
Oh yeah, that's the bigger one.
Where? Oh yeah, I see it.
She's big.
Oh, I see it.
We have
Right to the right up there, straight ahead, by the
one
beach.
there and one behind us.
Allá moviéndose hacia las canoas.
Oh, sí, sí.
Oh, look, that gator's going for the duck. The gator's going for the duck. No, no, it's not.
Look at that gator right there by them. He's in the water.
Nope, this gator's not hungry. I'm sorry, what? You weren't listening. The gator doesn't care about them. Gators are afraid of humans. So if they fell in the water, they're not by its den or anything like that. They don't care. And this one wouldn't care either. If somebody fell out of the boat right now, could care less. Probably go the other way.
It's following us.
Gators have a bad reputation. He's cruising right along, too. Now, some of the other animals in the park. We do have 8 to 10 manatees called the park their home year-round. But because of having over 4,800 acres, we have no idea where or when they'll show up. No, that's not a baby. Trust me on that. Also, a few weeks ago, we had a couple of black bears wander through the park. They raised a few eyebrows. And at last count, we have over 300 rhesus macaque monkeys that call the park their home. The legend is the monkeys were left here from the Tarzan movies. That is false. Tarzan used chimpanzees, not rhesus macaque monkeys. The rhesus monkeys came in the 1930s when there was 3 boat rides here. There was the Glass Bottom boat, the Lost River Cruise, and then the Jungle Adventure Cruise. The Jungle Adventure Cruise was owned by a Colonel Toohey, who brought 12 of these monkeys, put them on an island downriver, so the people that bought his tickets and rode his boats had something different to look at. Well, when the monkeys arrived, he put them out there that night. The next day, he was on the first boat out. He wanted to see the reaction of the people to his investment. Well, when the boat went by the island, the only one that had a reaction was him. Because rhesus macaque monkeys are one of the few monkeys that can swim. They got hungry during the night and swam off. They've been roaming around here now for over 90 years. They obviously been busy reappropriating because they went from 12 to 300. They've been seen as far south as Fruitland Park and as far north as up by Jacksonville along the St. John's River.
What is they eat here?
Excuse me? Bugs. Anything they find that's edible.
What kind of fish are
Maybe it's the big gator again. I don't know what fish you're looking at. Bigger blue ones, that's tilapia. It's an invasive species. And here's the gator. Now the area we're entering into now, we call the Spring of Life. If you look down through the glass, you're going to see these pot marks in the sand. These pot marks are little springs. Little springs are called boils. If you look at these little springs, some of them will look like they're boiling water out of them. It is an optical illusion. The water all comes out of the ground at 72 degrees. But it is a pressure difference between the river water and the spring water. And a little hint, don't look straight down at them, look at an angle like across the boat or something. If you're looking straight down, you won't see it.
The boil. You know how it's smooth when there's a boil and it's We saw it the other spring.
Yeah, yeah.
Si uno las ve, mira derecho hacia abajo,
Billy,
no se ve.
there's
Hay
a
que
boil in the middle.
verlas desde...
There it is.
It's spring.
Look out there. Look out the window. If you see smooth water, that's oil.
Anybody see any boils?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, mira, aquí hay uno.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we're over a bunch of them.
There's a whole bunch right here. All of them.
Yeah, I see it. Right there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good point. Lots of little ones. Little ones.
I know they're everywhere.
Now, what we're coming over is a long piece of wood alongside that rock. It happens to be a 28-foot piece of cypress wood. Cypress is a tree that grows here in Florida.
On the rock.
It is a hardwood with a natural chemical in it that resists rotting in water.
Yeah.
When we found this particular piece of wood, we contacted the University of Florida and asked them to do some testing on it for us. When they came down here, they took it back to the school in Gainesville. And among the tests they ran carbon dating. This piece of wood carbon dated out 590 to 610 years old.
Estaba ahí desde hace más de 600 años.
And while I was up at school,
La universidad
they
de
discovered
Florida
that they had in their possession one of the most intact Native American canoes in Florida. If you look at that piece of wood, it is kind of curved. Now, being over 600 years old would have put it as the Timucuan tribe. And being that it's over 28 foot long, more than likely was a ceremonial canoe. The reason we say that is to give you a reference point. This boat is 31 feet long. That canoe would have been 3 foot short of this boat. It would have been very difficult for the Timucuans to go in all the little areas that they would have went into to hunt and fish. When the school realized what they had, they wanted to put it in their Museum of Natural History. The state said it wasn't a museum, put it back. Well, they had a little tussle. Guess who won? And when the school put it back, they put it back within an inch of where they took it out of. That's the type of record keeping they do. Now, the next spring I'm going to show you folks, we call the Blue Grotto. The water here gets its blue tint from the sunlight coming through the water, bouncing off the limestone bottom, going back through the water.
Is that why these fish look blue?
That's why. What I like about the Blue Grotto, though, it snows here. You'll see Florida snow. In fact, it will look like somebody shook a snow globe. And it's coming under the boat right now.
Dice que eso es lo que llaman aquí la nieve de la Florida.
What is that?
Different fish.
It's another story.
Anybody see snowflakes yet?
Yeah.
Kind of looks like somebody shook a snow globe. What Florida snow actually is limestone and seashells being crushed by the water and brought to the surface by the spring. This particular spring we're over right now will produce anywhere from 46 to 60 million gallons a day. Just a slight little water leak. Now you may ask yourself, where's all that water go? Well, when we get back out to the main part of the river, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, if you look out the right-hand side of the boat, you're going to see a bunch of turtles on a log. Most of these turtles are slider turtles. We have yellow belly, red belly, and orange belly sliders. Turtles are cold-blooded. They get up on the log to get out of the chilly water to recharge themselves in the sunlight. They use their shell like a solar panel to heat their body. Does anybody know what you call a bunch of turtles on a log besides lunch? Anybody? No guesses? It's called a shell station, folks. I gave you all the hints. Recharge, solar panel, never mind. It's hot, I understand. Now, as we're making our way back out to the middle of the Silver River, that's the river you've been on since you've been on my boat. From here, going east or to the right, it's 5.5 miles to the Ocklawaha River. Akawaha is Native American for dark or muddy water. The Akawaha then meanders northeast more or less until it bumps into the St. Johns River. The St. Johns River is one of the few rivers in the northern hemisphere that flows north. It will flow north to Jacksonville, where it makes a right-hand turn and dumps out into the Atlantic Ocean. The Silver River here has between a 3 and an 8 mile an hour current, depending on where you are in the river. The wider the river, the slower the current. The narrower the river, the faster the current. And from where you got on the boat to where it dumps out into the Atlantic Ocean is approximately 162 miles by water. And that's what our manatee come from. They swim that whole way in the winter to be here. And it's all uphill. Going back, it's all downhill. Now, this area we call Cypress Springs. We already talked about cypress wood. But there's a tree in here that was 150 years old when it fell into the river. It's been in the water over 100 years, and it's in pretty good shape. Also, there is a 1910 version of a glass bottom boat. That is a male Ahinga in the tree. He's bragging on what size fish he caught. I know it's a male because males are black from the chest up and females are brown from the chest up. Now underneath the boat is starting to come into view. There is a 1910 version of a glass bottom boat. As we go over it, you'll see little squares in the bottom of it. Those are where the glass was. And then as we pass over the tree, I think this tree being 250 years old and in the water for over 100 years, looks in pretty good shape. They estimate this tree between $15,000 and $20,000 if somebody was able to harvest it and take it to be milled.
Water coming out.
And in the back corner here is another shell station. Now, who can tell me what is this stuff hanging in the trees?
Spanish moss.
Spanish moss. You're correct. Why they call it that, though, I really don't know. I've heard a bunch of different theories, but nobody can tell me what is true. But one thing I do know that is true about Spanish moss, that one of the first commercial uses of it was from a gentleman named Henry Ford. Henry owned a place down in Fort Myers, Florida. He saw this stuff growing on trees, so he sent his workers out to collect it. When they got enough of it together, they shipped it off to Detroit. In Detroit, the workers there started stuffing the Model T seats with it. Well, what old Henry didn't know, and he couldn't Google at the time, the Spanish moss has little bugs in it called chiggers. So as the people are riding across the countryside in their brand new shiny any color they want, as long as it's black Ford, the chiggers were having lunch on the people's butts, thus forcing Henry to have the first automobile recall in America. And guys, his second choice wasn't much better. It was horsehair. So thank your lucky stars for falling from it, because Lord knows what the third choice might have been. Now, the Seminoles were the primary Native American nation in this area. A lot of people thought they were a tribe. They were a nation made up of smaller tribes. Their claim to fame, though, is they were never defeated by the United States Army. In fact, they never signed a peace treaty. Although the government wanted to have a peace treaty with them, the Seminole Tribal Council just didn't trust the American government. Can you guys believe that? not trusted the American government? Well, they did want to play nice in the sandbox, so they called upon their warrior chief, Chief Osceola, to go negotiate for them. The reason they used Osceola was his mother was Creek, which is one of the nations in the tribe. But his father was English and Scottish, taught his son to read and write English. Well, when he went to the negotiations, the government handed him a parchment of paper. And they told him that it was the treaty, and it said, as long as you behave yourself, we'll let you live on your land in Florida. We'll feed you, we'll clothe you, we'll give you medicine. Well, when he took it back to the council, he unrolled the parchment, and the words were different. If you behave yourself, we're going to move you to Oklahoma. Well, the council's going, we don't know what or where Oklahoma is, but we do have a pretty nice place here in Florida. I mean, look around, folks, this isn't bad. So they told Osceola to take the parchment back and tell the government no. Excuse me. So when Osceola took the parchment back to tell the government no, the way he did it was he unrolled it onto a stump. He took out his knife and he stabbed the parchment, thus symbolizing killing it. Well, unfortunately, that little gesture started the Second Seminole War. A few years later, Osceola was captured. His captors took him to a prison up by Charleston, South Carolina, where he died at the age of 34 of dysentery. If you look out the right-hand side of the boat, you're going to see a tan statue up on shore. That will be Osceola stabbing the parchment. Now, if you remember way back when we started this little run, we said that this was the premier destination in Florida for a lot of years. It predated the mouse. Well, when people came here, they came to vacation. There was hotels and things to do, boat rides, swimming, barbecues, other things. But when they came here, they came by steamboat. And they thought that this was the end of the river. Well, actually, they had it backwards. This is the beginning of it. Right now, we are heading to the first spring in the river. It is known as a head spring. We call it Mammoth Spring because of the size of the opening. The opening of Mammoth Springs is 5 feet tall, 65 feet across. That's more than 2 of these boats put end to end. It will produce over 550 million gallons of water a day at peak flow. That is enough water to change the water in this basin we're in right now every 38 minutes. And if I have any James Bond fans on board, this cave may look familiar to you because it was used in the movie Thunderball, starring Sean Connery, the best Bond ever. Now we'll go across this little plateau with some algae on it. Then there will be a drop-off, and then there will be Mammoth Springs. Here's the drop-off. People on the left-hand side of the boat, you're getting a really good view of Mammoth Springs. People on the right, guys, you should have sat on the left. I'll spin around a little bit for you.
What's the cross cut?
How deep in here?
Slow your roll. We'll get to it.
Big cave on the right.
Everybody starting to see the opening?
Yeah, right here.
That big black opening at the bottom of the river is Mammoth Spring. Keep in mind it's 5 feet tall, 65 wide. The deepest part of Mammoth Springs that a person can get into is 55 feet deep. That white limestone sand right in front of the cave is about 32 feet deep. Well, folks, there's one last thing I can possibly show you guys if anybody's interested. Or if you're too hot, we can head back to the dock. Your choice. What would you like to do? Anybody want to see the last thing?
Yes.
I mean, we're out here already, right? In 1967, there was a very popular TV show called I Spy, starring Robert Culp and Bill Cosby. When they came here to do an episode, they brought with them statues that represented Greek gods. When they were done filming and they aired the episode, they told the viewing public that they were in the Greek Isles. Well, they lied, and I can prove it. When they got done filming and they started taking the statues out of the water, the people of Silver Springs had a hissy fit. So much so, they got up a petition that most of the town signed to leave the statues in the springs. Well, after some negotiation with the production company, they reached a compromise. They left us 3. But the 3 they left us were the 3 biggies in Greek mythology. They will be Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. And they're coming underneath the boat right now.
3 discípulos que dejaron después de esa película. Eran las más importantes de acuerdo a la metodología griega.
Everybody starting to see them?
Yeah.
These gentlemen are in 31 feet of water. They are 7 feet tall. They are anchored down there in concrete. They are made of a space-age material called fiberglass. Now you giggle a little bit, but in 1967, fiberglass was considered a space-age material. Going this way, it's Hades, Poseidon's in the middle, and Zeus is kind of by himself. These gentlemen were also in a James Bond movie called Moonraker, starring Roger Moore. In Moonraker, a giant anaconda snake came out from that bush to my left, met up with James Bond in front of these gentlemen, and they had a fight. The movie people said it was a trained anaconda. Does anybody on board know how you train an anaconda? Because I don't. Well, unfortunately, these gentlemen did not have a really good contract, and they were cut out of the movie. But they were left in the movie trailer. Well, folks, that's pretty much what I got to show you. Does anybody have any questions? Nobody has questions? Cool. Well then, the next part of the cruise I like to call Crash and Bang. We are going to go back to the dock. So please take a moment to look around your seat for any personal items. Any hats, glasses, sunglasses, phones, cameras, backpacks, pocketbooks, children, spouses. Anything you leave behind and would like back, look on eBay tomorrow. I'm very reasonable when I sell it back to you. But folks, thank you very much for allowing me to take you down the Silver River and to show you some of the splendid beauties of this place we call Silver Springs. And if you folks would like to partake in a 130-year-old tradition, you may do so by placing your gratuities right there on the glass you've been looking through. For a better part of 130 years, we have been very successful at disguising our tip jar as a glass bottom boat. But honestly, folks, I hope you enjoyed the cruise. I hope I was a little informative and somewhat entertaining. And as we're heading in, I have one more question. How many of you are first-timers? We have a lot in common, guys.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Why did you last swim?
Well, they allow swimming in some of the other springs around here, and they are finding out that they are getting polluted by people. And what I mean by that, the suntan lotion, the deodorant, the air conditioner, hair shampoo, it's all polluting the water. And since this spring here is the largest Artesian spring in the northern hemisphere, they do not want this to be